Hey everybody, how's it going? Keith Busher here from The Art of Keith Busher Precious Mutations, working on our third project, which is called When the Reaper Sleeps. So we are working on taking this figurine and modifying it, and I guess you can tell by the title that we're going to make him into a death type character, loosely based off of the Discworld novels by Terry Pratchett. So we have our skull here for references. This is part 2. If you missed part 1, please go back to our channel and watch. As per usual, we will be sculpting today with Abe's Epoxy Sculpt, which is made by a company called Abe's Studio, www.avesstudio.com, AVESSTUDIO.com. We're having a contest with them right now where you guys, to help promote my page, they've been generous enough to offer a pound of their epoxy sculpt if you are kind enough to subscribe to my channel and to go on over to theirs, which is Abe's Studio, AVESSTUDIO LLC on YouTube, and subscribe to that channel. And on July 31st, we will close the contest. And on August 1st, we will choose a name, and that person will win a free pound of epoxy sculpt, color of their choice. Comes in all kinds of different colors: black, white, red, natural, pink. The natural is like a gray color. It's a 2-part epoxy. You mix equal parts together, and yeah. So this piece, I'm happy to say, has someone has put a dibs on it. They contacted me today, even after just one tutorial, and decided that yes, they would like to invest in this piece. So I'm just letting you know, while I'm mixing up the clay, that if you are interested in a piece, please PM me right away. If you see something that you like, PM me right away, because they don't last long. Oftentimes my pieces sell before I'm even done making them. So if you are interested, please don't wait for it to reach my Etsy page. If you want something, if you're curious about something, you can always reach out to me right away. And as always, I don't take money right away, just in case something comes up before it's finished, or, you just, crises happen. I understand that. If for some reason the piece gets damaged or destroyed, I don't want you to feel like you're out any money or anything like that. So all you got to do is, be a good person and commit to a piece, and I will take your word for it. And if you can't buy it, then it goes up on my Etsy page. The Etsy page is also The Art of Keith Busher Precious Mutations. I have about 7 or 8 pieces up there right now. I have about 10 pieces in a coffee shop in Cordis, Ontario, which is just near Oshawa and Whitby, and it's called Deadly Grounds Coffee. So if you're Ontario native, or you live out in that direction and you want to see firsthand some of the works that aren't in our Etsy page, or just different things, then please, it's a really cool cafe. It's all horror themed. My zombie foosball table was in there for a little while. They've got a bunch of my sculptures. They make amazing coffee. They've got food. They do a great donuts thing on the weekend. And they're going to be opening another cafe in actual Whitby, but it's going to be more video game based than horror based. But yeah, no, they're great people, and they do good things, and they make great coffee. So give them a like too. You can find all of us, AV Studio, myself, The Art of Keith Busher Precious Mutations, and Deadly Grounds, all on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just look us up. So as always too, we're going to have right by our side here the AV Safety Solvent, which is a great thing for dipping your tools in when you're trying to get textures and stuff. And today what we're going to work on is we're going to work on the upper part of the jaw and the nose bone. So as you can see here, we worked on the jaw. I have these skulls here for reference. So last time we worked on the jaw, we did the lower jaw. So what we're going to do is we're going to do kind of the top teeth. We're going to make it extend so that it goes to these teeth and up into the nose piece. Don't worry about the eyes on the original piece. You don't have to put your eyes exactly where those were. We're going to kind of cover those up a little bit. But the one thing I'm going to do that's not a reference to the skull is I'm going to try and make sleepy skull eyes. I don't know. I've never done that before, but it could be a bit challenging. I don't know how you make bones look sleepy, but we will try. So I'm going to only take about this much. So I said you're going to win a pound, but like literally that's next to nothing. And you see how far it goes. That's pretty much maybe a little bit more than this made our jaw. So it will last you a good long time. It's for your money. You do absolutely get your money's worth when you order this stuff. I like this stuff. I started using other sculpting materials that I found in like gaming stores, tabletop gaming stores and stuff, and I just found it too rubbery. As I've said before, I need something that dries by itself, not on can't be baked, because sometimes I'm working with wood or plastic or anything, so obviously I can't bake on it. So we're going to try and make this top jaw here is essentially what we're going for. I've done descriptions before on how I make my teeth, but I'll go over them again because this is a new project and I see that it's garnering some more interest from people who maybe didn't see the skull sconces. But if you are really interested in seeing kind of the teeth, a good display of teeth and stuff like that, then the skull sconce is a good tutorial to watch. It's moving along. It's been a little bit since I posted on that one. I think it's been a couple of days, but that's because I'm trying not to bore you guys too much. So I'm building the other 3 skulls on the other sconce before we start painting so that you don't have to basically watch me do the exact same thing I did on the first sconce. Okay, so we're kind of building up into the nose area, right? So we want to cover, looks a little bit like when we did the lip on the skull sconce. So you want to have enough that you're going to overhang, because the teeth generally overhang a little bit on, you have an overbite. Occasionally people will have an underbite, but in this case we're not going to go there. We're going to go with the overbite, the skull overbite. I'm just going to try and smooth out the clay a little bit here. So I'm pushing in here because there's eventually going to be eye sockets in there. So we can flatten that out a bit so we can start to see where our eyes are going to be and stuff. And where our nose is going to be, where our orbital bone or the nasal passage is going to be. Okay, and we've got a bit of a hood here, so eventually our forehead's going to go up into that. Okay, now this is the tool. This is my main tool that I use when I'm making teeth. Some of you have seen it before. And so the same way that we did the bottom teeth, basically, there's our center. So there's going to be our first tooth. There's going to be our second tooth. I'm sticking a little bit. So this is where I pull out my safety solvent. Just screw off the top. And I just dip my tool right inside. I don't have to pour it out. I don't have to dispense it or anything. Just dip my tool right inside. And then start working on some more teeth. And then if it starts sticking again, we'll just dip it again. But we seem to be doing all right here. All right, and one more tooth on this side. Okay, so this is actually kind of looks a little bit like he's smiling. So that's kind of cool. I don't know. I want to keep this a bit cutesy. Not necessarily always where I go and what I try and do, but I don't know. Something about this says it just kind of needs to be like a little bit of a cutesy skull. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so we have the basic shape of our teeth. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife, very sharp X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to start separating those teeth. And just like we talked in the last video, because it's a skull, it's not gums, it's an actual, we're going to our safety solvent. We're going to push that up a little bit, so because it's into the bone, we're going to show our teeth going into the bone as opposed to into gums, right? So we're just going to, sometimes it's hard. This is part of the hard part of sculpting over something that already exists, is sometimes you get things like this candle, which are conveniently right in your way to stop you from being able to do certain things, but we'll get it all sorted out. So yeah, sometimes you just got to come at it from a different angle, right? So we're gonna divvy that up. I hope everybody is having a lovely summer. How's everybody doing? If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to either add them in the comments below, or you can contact me directly and I will be happy to answer you. I do work a 9 to 5, so if I don't answer you right away, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's not because I don't like you. It's just because, well, it might be because I don't like you, but I don't know many of you well enough to like or dislike you. I like you. You have given me no reason not to like you, so that's where we stand for now. I'm just teasing. Yeah, so leave me a comment. I was thinking about doing like maybe on the next project, one of the next projects I do, I was thinking maybe what I'll do is as a series of Facebook videos, and I'll do them live as opposed to I'll set a time or something a weekend, and we'll do one day a weekend, and we'll do a live. So if people have questions while they're watching, or they just want to stop in and say, hey, how's it going, then they're more than welcome to come and check it out. Okay, so you see a little more of the detail in the teeth. Now we have our fine little rounded bit, brush tool, rubber tipped tool, sculpting tool. Some of them are called brush tools. I don't know why, because there's no brush to them, but that's what they call them. And we're just going to push the tops of the teeth in up here where it goes into the bone, so it looks like it disappears kind of under that bone a little bit. We're going to make sure our teeth are kind of rounded over and go underneath as opposed to sticking out, because that just helps sell it a little bit more. Right, your teeth are pretty flat on the bottom. You just want to get rid of those spots where, your knife maybe dragged a bit of clay and made it a little bit weird shaped or something along those lines. Any of those little fur tails that from something sticking or anything like that. I'm going to draw those down a little bit. And if you have a little bit of clay between the teeth, don't worry about it, because when we paint it, we're going to fill that with like a darker shade and stuff, so it'll look like there's more separation between those teeth. So don't feel like you have to, you don't want to go too crazy, because there is an adhesive in this clay. It's a very strong adhesive and it works fantastic, especially if you can manage to wrap it all the way around the piece, because then the clay sticks to itself and it like basically encapsulates your piece, and then it rock hard. Like I said, I built a zombie foosball table out of this stuff, and I've used that zombie foosball table. I've taken it to cons, and it's been just beaten up and used and abused, like kids and hardcore foosball players. Always fun to watch those guys play. And nothing's broken on it. I've dropped the foosball guys while I was working on them, and nothing broke. So onto a concrete floor, which is in my studio, nothing broke. The only thing that broke off was one of the zombies was holding onto a porcelain leg that I had broken off of another figurine, and the foot broke off. And I was like, oh my god, something actually finally broke. And then I looked and it was just that. Oh, and I lost a shark fin. Sorry. But that was a very thin shark fin, so that was kind of my own fault. then I made that a bit too thin. So we're just adding a little bit of detail into the bones here, a little bit of texture. It's similar to the skin, but not the same. We're going to paint it different. It's going to be very similar to the tooth wash that we did in the Skull Sconce tutorial, but we're going to end up making it look more parchmenty, a little more beige gray, as opposed to like the white that teeth are. Okay, so now what do you guys think? I'm going to stand it up a little more upright so I can see this piece of bone is down pretty far. I'm going to try and push that up a bit. Okay, so you kind of see the teeth coming in there. See how they're working out. I'm pretty happy with it. So we can start working on the schnoz, right? So you see how the bone goes in, but you also want this part, it sticks out further than the forehead and stuff like that. So remember to keep it kind of, so all we're going to do is kind of push it out and forward. And it's kind of like, the nose cavity is kind of like an upside down heart. So I'm actually going to take a larger round over tool to make the bottom. Oops, sorry guys. Hope you don't get seasick watching this video. I need to get a new camera stand, seriously. So remember, we set up, this is kind of where we've decided the center of the face is, so that's going to have to be where the center of your nose is as well. So I might have been slightly off there. So I'm going to try pushing that up and in, and then the top of the nose just kind of comes to a bit of a point, and this is where your forehead's going to come down and meet into it. What is that? Okay, so we're using this part here, which is the middle of our teeth, as kind of the center of our nose. I don't like this nose. I'm going to redo this. Okay, so I'm going to smoosh it. The working time on this clay is good. It's like 3 hours-ish. The first hour, it's like when you first mix it, it's kind of like warm plasticine. And then after that, it slowly starts to get harder and harder. And at about, the half an hour mark, I find a bit of the adhesive loses its touch, which is good because then it sticks less to what you're sculpting. So you kind of just want to lay out your base, but it gets harder, which means stiffer, and then you can really get some really cool details and stuff in. Okay, so I'm actually not going to do the nose. I've decided I'm not going to do the nose right now after that little experiment there, which is okay. It's fine to kind of change up your plan sometimes from time to time. If it's not working for you, then switch it up. I'm just going to take the remainder of the clay that we didn't use for the top teeth and rework it a little bit to warm it up, soften it up a bit. I hope everybody's enjoying these videos. I know that somebody was already asking about chapter 2, so that's really cool that you guys are excited and want to see more. I'm happy to hear that. Means maybe I'm doing something right. So we are going to, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take what I have left, which is not much again. It is just this little bit right here, and I'm going to divide that in half so that both sides of my orbital bone are the same size. That's the easiest way that I find to do it, is, if you make one and then you work it and you build the eye and then you try and guesstimate how much clay you used for that, it can be hard. Whereas if you just take a piece of clay and break it into 2 equal parts and put one of those parts aside, then you know that's the same amount of clay I used on one side, so the other side will look balanced and even. Okay, so here, what I'm going to build now is this bone in here, or try anyway. If it doesn't look good, then we can always come back. We can always take it off. So I want to make him look like he has sleepy eyes. So first thing, I know my nose is going to be here in the center. I'm going to draw a little line here. So I know that's where I want my everything to kind of line up to. Now the clay is still warm, so I can blend it quite well into the part that we've already done. You don't want too much solvent on your brush, or it gets a little slimy. Just enough that when you're working it, it works pretty well. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can make this sit nicely so you guys can kind of get an idea of what it is that I'm trying to do here, right? Now ours is going to be a little bit different because our face is much wider. I'm trying to cover an existing face. It's a lot easier to build a brand new face than it is to try and cover an existing face. I can tell you that right now, all day, every day, it is easier to build new than it is to try and cover something that's already existing. So ceramic is difficult to upcycle. Resin is good because you can sand back into the piece so that you can start building like a brand new face kind of thing. And don't worry if it looks weird. You know what I mean? If it looks disproportionate, this is just for fun, right? It's those things that don't add up will ultimately become your style. So, if it looks, it doesn't have to look exactly like the piece that you started with. That's the reason that you're modifying it, right? So, is because we didn't care much for the original piece. If we liked it, we wouldn't be modifying it. So don't worry if it looks a little bit odd or disproportioned or anything like that, because we're going to fix it. And like I said, those little details end up being your style. So I think to a degree, I've developed from watching myself do pieces like this one. I believe I've kind of created a recognizable style of what's mine. So if I'm scrolling through something really quickly, like I did the other day, and I come across a piece like I did the other day, the Necronomicon piece, I know, and generally it's really cool. Thank you very much to all the people who let me know that it's there, is that not just that I recognize my own pieces, but I've had other people go, "Isn't this yours?" And that's pretty awesome, because that means they not only recognize what I'm doing and they're seeing my stuff pop up in places, but that they recognize by the way that it's shaped, by the way that it's sculpted, that it actually is one of my pieces that they've come across. So that's pretty awesome. Yeah. Should probably watermark your pieces. If you're making these and you're starting to and you want to build your business, the one thing I didn't do was watermark that picture, and I really should have. But then again, I've been doing this for 7 years, and not saying that I haven't gained some popularity or anything like that, but there's only been one or two times where something's kind of really gone viralish, and that was one of them. And I got an email from somebody saying, "Hey, I'm seeing this all over Facebook. Somebody's sharing this all over Facebook, and I'm pretty sure it's one of yours." And it was that piece. And they're like, "But your name's not on it." And unfortunately, right when they texted me, I was on a shuttle going on a cruise. So it was like, oh, good. Now I have a week where I have no internet access because I'm poor. I know I'm going on a cruise, but I actually am not the wealthiest guy in the world. Because I make art for fun, not to get rich. Nobody ever said I'm gonna get rich. What should I do? Let's start making art. You have to do it because you love it, and that's where it comes out. But anyway, I was going on a cruise ship, so for a week I didn't have internet access, so I had no way of finding who the original poster was that decided to use my art. So I couldn't track them down and ask them to put my name on it or anything like that, and as a result, it went crazy, and I see it all over the place, and I have no control over getting my name put on it. So sometimes people are pretty cool, and the page admins will add a tag, which will share to my page and stuff like that. But lesson learned. Always should watermark your stuff. Oh, Leia is excited, as am I. This piece is turning out pretty cool. So we're going to build this out, make it a little more squarish. I want to flatten these out a little bit more. So other things that we're going to do in this particular tutorial is, obviously we're going to do the nose and the forehead. We're going to make this little guy the Death of Rats from the book series, and we are going to add a little scythe to this hand, like he's carrying his tools off to bed with him. So right now I'm just basically going through, I'm shaping it, I'm looking at it, I'm trying to keep everything kind of symmetrical, right? That definitely helps with a piece. So having a little bit of trouble here. This is where using the same amount of clay helps, but I want to make this a little more this side. Oh, sorry. Oh, she's making it worse. So I just want to, I'm not sure why, it looks like this piece goes over here and then kind of juts up, so I'm going to try and flatten this piece out, because I like this orbital bone better than I like the other one, so I'm going to try and make this one look more like that one. I think this side's a little flatter. So, like I said, we're just shaping, trying to make everything look kind of the same way on both sides. What do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you dig it? Not the creepiest piece I've made, but it's kind of cool. It's pretty cool. Okay, so we're getting there. Just rounding over, smoothing it out. But I'm going to let you guys go. I think we'll stop right there for today. You don't want to push it too much. I got a couple other videos that I want to make. And yeah, I try and do as much as I can in a day. Obviously, if I could do this for a living, I would make videos all day, and I would be able to sculpt all the time. But unfortunately, I can't do that. And I have a 9 to 5, and so I get about half an hour to work on each piece every day. I've said before, if you're new to this channel, that the key to self-drying clay and building stuff like this is have multiple projects on the go, so that while one is drying, you can be working on the next piece, the next piece, the next piece. And usually by the time you get through about 2 or 3 pieces, Epoxy Sculpt has set enough that you can go back and you can work on that first piece again without too much damage. But be careful, because if it hasn't set for a full 24 hours, like I've said before, you may run the risk that you will leave a thumbprint or a fingerprint or something inside of it. Alright, I'm gonna stop tinkering with it, I think. I'm pretty happy. What do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you dig it? Please like and subscribe and share if you have friends who are crafters and you think they would find this interesting or a cool video. Don't forget to enter our contest by subscribing to us and to AV Studio LLC. If you subscribe to both of us and you're on both of our guest lists or our subscriber lists at the end of the month, then you have a chance to win 1 pound of AV's Epoxy Sculpt of your choice. So, thanks again for watching. Thank you to all those who came back, and we'll see you next time.